Oh,
We're both here. We made it. It's
hey, Jackie.
always a gamble if I'm gonna be on or
I know.
if
And
you'll be there.
I only sat for like 30 seconds awkwardly, so it's getting better.
Okay. Yay. Hello,
Anyways,
Jackie.
I think Jackie's traveling, so thanks
Oh,
for making us a priority, Jackie.
world traveling Jackie.
And I went and made some tea and I got my mug that Raven gave
It's
me.
so cute.
It is.
Mine is not as cute.
Oh, and I realized, no, yours isn't as cute. Mine has a Jane Austen quote. I didn't realize that's who it was, but it's like, ah, there is nothing like staying at home for real comfort. Jane knows us so well.
She does. Do y'all hear?
Ah,
Can you hear the mowing?
yes, but we'll forgive you this time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
trying
okay.
over here.
It's okay. We
It's a
still
Monday
have
on a
our
Friday.
life stuff, I know. Ah, okay. So, are you ready to just jump in?
Let's jump in. I'm very excited to hear your reaction.
I am not okay. Oh, Sean's here.
Hi, Sean.
Um, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with how these chapters went. I'm not okay with how the story ended. I'm not okay.
Okay. Well, tell us how you really feel. Why are you not okay? What are you not happy with?
Um, well, just how it ended. So do you want to go through the chapters and then I can tell you chapter by chapter what my problem is.
Okay, I am in a different area, and so I left my book downstairs. So
Okay.
yes, let's go with that.
Okay.
Since you have your notes.
Well, I have notes until about the halfway point, and then my jaw just fell on the floor and I never recovered. So, in the beginning of of these last 10 chapters, we have Eleanor and her brother. Well, her brother shows up to talk to her about Edward and Lucy, and can you believe that they did that, and how, the sister's not recovering and blah blah blah, all the drama that ensued from Edward saying that he was wanting to marry Lucy. And remember, Edward is the love of Eleanor's life from the beginning of the book. Okay, so then the next chapter they go, so everybody packs up and they arrive at Cleveland, which is it Mrs. Jennings' home? I never could kind of quite pin that, or is it the
Yeah,
Palmer's home? Um,
I think it's the Palmers.
okay, so they go to their house and are just gonna hang out, and um Colonel Colonel Brandon's gonna be there, and then Marianne gets sick, which is the next chapter, and then they spend a whole chapter on how Marianne, is she gonna die? Is she that sick? Like, where are we with that? Um, and so it kind of like they go back and forth, and then it looks like maybe she is gonna die. And so they send for the mom, but lo and behold, who shows up but Willoughby, who is the guy that jilted Marianne for somebody else. And he drunkenly shows up and starts telling Eleanor all the reasons why he made the decision that he made. And Eleanor seems to understand his decision making. Not understand, not in the sense of like forgiving it, but like, okay, I kind of understand. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't understand. I hated that. Um, I hated that she had to talk to him, I guess. I think it's nice to see that Jane Austen wrote this perspective, because I don't think a lot of times she writes from like giving you the other side of the story for people who, like, not necessarily the bad characters, but like the people who make the wrong decisions in her books. She ends up, like, you kind of never know. Like with Wickham and stuff, you really never know if he's repents of what
Right.
he did and stuff. So we do see, and I will give her that Willoughby does say, I know I made a wrong choice. I basically chose for money instead of love.
Yeah.
So
And I'm going to pay for it the rest of my
Yes, and
life.
I'm gonna pay for it the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So then, um, so then we move into like mom comes, Marianne's better. They kind of Eleanor kind of goes back and forth on whether or not she wants to tell Marianne that Willoughby came by. Um, and then she tells like so anyways, everybody's all caught up to speed with that. Then we find out, which this is the biggest problem I have. Then we find out that Mr. Ferris got married, and somebody at the house saw Lucy with Mr. Ferris, and blah blah blah. And like Eleanor confirms as best she can, you saw him with her, blah blah blah. And he says yes. So she's crushed and devastated. And then like almost immediately after that, you find out that Lucy didn't actually marry Edward. She married Robert.
Robert.
When Edward shows up to tell her that he isn't married, that Robert married Lucy. What? My jaw was on the floor. I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I can't compute what you're trying to say. What do you mean she married Robert? After she was pining for Edward for how many chapters did we have to
Yeah.
listen to her and how much she loved Edward? Um, and then he was wearing her hair in his ring situation. Um, I don't understand
Did
where.
you read the, oh, go ahead.
No, you can what?
That where she writes the letter and she's like, burn all of my
Yes,
letters, but my locket of hair, you can
you
keep
can
that.
keep. Oh my word, so cringy.
Yeah.
And so now Edward's just so available and has come to like lock down the situation with Eleanor. And Eleanor is super excited and says yes. What? And so okay, so that's the one that we're for sure coming back to. And then it ends up going to where you find out that eventually Colonel Brandon and Marianne get together, which is my second issue. So I was really, really enjoying this book. I still think it's like I would still give it a 4 stars. My biggest issue is how this book ended. I'm not okay with how I'm not okay with who she put with who.
Yeah.
And I think it feels very much like Little Women. When you read Little Women the first time and Lori and Joe don't get together at the end, and you're like, what was the whole book about? Like, because it just feels like you're constantly building to this. I feel very much like that right now.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we got from Edward marrying Lucy and they're so in love to like immediately he didn't marry her. Lucy married the brother and now he's marrying Eleanor. And when she was saying like when they're having this conversation and Eleanor's like and I like we're going to get married, I was audibly saying no, no. What? I was not okay with this. Okay, so now you can tell me your thoughts.
No,
That's
we're
my whole
we're
recap
just
of
here to
I'm
see your
traumatized
reaction because, Jackie and I had we had sidebar conversations about how you were going to take this information.
because I thought from several chapters back where Colonel Brandon is saying that, like, because to me, so he's having a conversation with Eleanor, who, like, this has to be at the midway point. I should have marked it when they have this conversation. And he is, like, saying how. It's not really about Marianne. It's that I really loved this other girl who looked like Marianne. And then I had this like sordid love triangle system with her and she died and like now he's taking care of her kid, like all of that stuff. So I thought, oh, he's just saying, or he's just saying like I liked the way your sister looked because she reminded me of somebody, but like I'm not super attached to her. In that conversation that they have, it really reads like, or to me it read like he liked Eleanor.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
I'm gonna go back and like reread the conversation that they had because I really thought that's how I took it, is that he was saying like it was just that she looked like this other girl that I used to love. Loved so much that now I'm taking care of her daughter. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not that he likes Eleanor. So he's going to, or not that he likes Marianne, he likes Eleanor. Um, so I'm thoroughly confused as to why, for one, Colonel Brandon actually ends up with Mary Ann, who is like half his age. They never talk about in the book the relationship. So that's a big problem I have because it's kind of like almost this aside that she does at the end of like, oh yeah, and by the way, they're together. Like
Yeah.
after we've spent the entire book processing this through like living their lives with them and then you end up not even writing the part about them getting together, so it doesn't make sense at all to me. And then like why would she end up changing her mind when she, because she doesn't really like Colonel Brandon at all through the book. um and then the Eleanor and Edward, I don't see it. I think Eleanor should have ended up with Colonel Brandon.
Oh, okay.
Edward
Well,
can just go be by himself somewhere else because he has too many red flags and he needs to figure out who he is because he does not know. And Eleanor needed a stable, just, you know, good
yeah.
hearted
Someone like
fellow,
Colonel Brandon, right? That's
kind
what
of,
you're saying.
yes, like Colonel Brandon. And then she puts Marianne, like I just don't get it. It would be like if Mr. Darcy married um the one that ends up marrying Wickham. What's her name? Jackie.
Jackie,
um,
calling on our resident Jane Austen expert.
but it would be like Mr. Darcy marrying her for me, and it just it makes zero sense. It makes zero sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
And
I
yeah, go
go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Um, I definitely agree with you. I don't like that they didn't, I mean, that Jane Austen did not develop Colonel Brandon and Marianne's, or at least obviously, we don't see that.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would have liked to have seen that relationship grow. And yes, Edward doesn't have a spine at
At
all,
all.
obviously. And you can see that definitely in the book. So I would agree with you on those points, but I still like how it ended because, I mean, I don't really know. You make really good valid points. I'm influenced by the movie because y'all know that I've seen the movie before
Yes.
I ever read the book, and it's so like ingrained in my head. And so I feel like in the movie it works. Maybe
Do
because
do they spend more time with Edward and Eleanor? Like,
I don't feel like Mary Ann, aside from when she was with Willoughby, I don't feel like Mary Ann hates Colonel Brandon quite as much as you see. And I don't, maybe not hate, but like she just doesn't like him in the book. Whereas in the movie, aside from when she was with Willoughby, um, I don't feel like she dislikes him that much. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Um, and so there is a little bit of a friendship there. Would you
So
say the same thing, Jackie? Because I know that you've seen it if you're still
yeah,
here.
in the movie, do they make the relationship between Edward and Eleanor like more than they do in the book? Like, do you
I
see more
definitely
of a
feel like you
relationship building?
you you feel the chemistry between the two of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I would say he probably still doesn't have a spine, but I've never really thought of it that deeply until you were saying the things, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's a little problematic.
Well, and the thing to me too is I guess whenever Jane Austen has him in the book, in the beginning, like Marianne is totally trashing on him about how like he has no personality, he's so boring, blah blah blah. And so that's fresh out of the gate that you think of him that way. And then it's like you the next time you see him, he's wearing some other girl's hair and he seems very like, I don't know, different. Like there's this has to be, I'm just guessing because I haven't read all of them, but this has to be her worst written like male lead character in the
Yeah.
book. I'm just going off pure book because um she gives you nothing that makes him likable. Nothing. So why would the character that we spend the entire book with, Eleanor, who we all love, why would we want her to be with him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jackie said that Edward's better in the movie. I agree with that. And that she doesn't like the book Edward. I agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
He's definitely, he's definitely, yeah, red flaggy in the book
Red
for sure.
flaggy, like, so the only guy worth anything is Colonel Brandon in the book.
Yeah.
And and he just ends up with Marianne. When I'm not even sure, like, is that not weird that he ended up marrying somebody who looks like the girl that he wanted to marry original? Like, there's a lot of problems with this
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. I don't know that they talk about that in the movie about her looking like, not that I remember. So that is a little bit weird.
Well, and I mean, it's not even like it was kind of casually mentioned. Like, he tells the whole story,
Yeah.
and he is like, has taken on the responsibility of, you know, being the custodian of the child that this lady has with somebody else. Like, that is a deep love that you would have for somebody.
Yeah.
So, I just don't know. Jackie said, oh, waiting for Jane to make Edward amazing, but the book ended. I know. And so that was my other thing is that I feel like the ending was so super rushed. Why was it so rushed? Um it was just like all of a sudden everybody's available and we're just going to get married, and then oh, PS, Colonel Brandon and Marianne got married. And then it
Yeah.
just stops.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so very abruptly. um After you spent eons in London, and we spent, like, I don't get it. That felt really weird. So I do think that if we take this with, it was her first book, and you can definitely see the inner workings of like where she's going with other characters and projects that she ends up writing. um you can see that she did get better and kind
Yeah.
of figured out her way through it. But I guess I don't know. I was just shocked at how it ended. So,
Yeah. You don't like Lucy in the movie either. No. No.
well, so, and yeah, and I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, like Lucy comes across creepy and weird, and you really just never know her intentions. And I think maybe that was kind of the problem with a lot of these side characters, is that she never really gave you enough information about them. And so then it's like you really don't have any, I don't know, like, I don't want to say like interest, but it's hard to like root for people when you don't really know what all's happening. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So I feel like for me, because Emma is my favorite one, I feel like in Emma, you have side characters that are comedic relief. You have side characters that you do kind of get to know a little bit deeper, but you know Mr. Knightley very well. You know the dad very well. Like, you know all of the main players and Emma. Like, you know them very well.
Yeah.
And so you're like rooting for that. um, I just don't think I think she tried to stay in like Eleanor Marianne lane, but then it kind of leaves you flat for the how the relationships turn out, because like I just didn't, I don't know, the only one that she really put any kind of effort into was Colonel Brandon, and then to me it just doesn't make sense
Yeah.
why he ended up. Why? That would be $1 million question that I would love to ask her. Why? Does she regret that?
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah, I
after
would.
she wrote Pride and Prejudice and all these other books, do you think she regretted having Edward and Eleanor end up together?
I don't know. I would love to ask. I would love to ask her some questions like that.
Because J.K. Rowling has said, years after she finished Harry Potter, that she wished that she wouldn't have put Ron and Harry together, or Ron and Harry. She wouldn't
Hermione.
have put Ron and Hermione together if she was writing it again. And so, because she said it didn't make sense, I just wanted, like, she wanted that, but it doesn't really kind of make sense why they would be together. I feel very much like that is how Edward and Eleanor are. I think she very much wanted them to be together, so she put them together, but everything in the story that you've told me doesn't make sense why they would be together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see it, and I feel your frustration, but I'm still happy with the way that I guess it ended. Now I feel kind of inferior to you.
What do you
It's-
mean?
because I never really thought of it that deeply.
But I think the difference is you were reading
Yeah.
it and watching it, as a young
Yeah, I'm
person.
coming from the, yeah.
And and if the movie paints it in a better light, like I've already said this before on the podcast and stuff, but like Little Women always frustrated me because I really thought that Lori and Joe should have gotten together. I never understood why they didn't get together. But then watching the new movie that came out, and she spent time with Amy and kind of developed that character more on in the movie, then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that totally made sense why they would put, Amy and Lori together. So so maybe that's what's going to happen in the movie, and maybe I'll be able to let it go. This is seriously my raw reaction because I just finished it this morning and I was just like, I don't even know what's happening.
This is the best version of Rachel after she reads a book is the raw, unedited version.
You're welcome. So Jackie
Okay.
said thoughts on Mom. So I thought it was very interesting. And we've already talked about this a little bit. Raven, is that I don't think that Jane Austen, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, if you remember, but I don't think Jane Austen has like a love relationships with moms. She's never
Yeah.
written one that's very likable. She I thought that the mom in this book, so the Dashwood's mom,
Hmm.
I thought she was okay. I mean, she's really just not in the book that much. And she almost seemed to be kind of like just kind of taking a seat back and kind of letting waiting to see how things were going to play out. She really didn't make her opinion too known, I don't think. I did end up liking Mrs. Jennings,
Yeah.
and how
Me
she
too.
cared for the girls and how she ended up staying when Marianne got sick. And back in those days, they didn't know what this was and if people were going to die and all that stuff. And so I thought it was very noble, and that made me like her even more. But I think um, Mrs. Jennings kind of had more of the motherly whatever than the actual mom did. I did
Yeah.
like that the mom came and she said how she does say in this one quote, Marianne was like able to go to sleep knowing that her mom was there. Um, and just kind of the sense that has on you, when your mom is there and you feel like, okay, it's okay now. But I don't know. She does not write, Jane Austen does not write moms in a favorable light.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't think
think.
that, I think in this one, at least, she didn't make her look stupid, which I feel like
Yes.
that's how most of them are written.
Yes. Yes. And Jackie said I was glad she finally woke up to Eleanor's sadness. I am too, because I do feel like she was focusing so much on Marianne, and really throughout the story everybody kind of writes off Eleanor. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering that when she gets married and the mom's so excited and whatever, it was like, why was she never concerned about Eleanor?
Mm.
And Eleanor
Yeah.
getting married, and it was the whole focus was always on Marianne and her love life.
Yeah. And her feelings
Yeah.
and
And
yeah.
what was going on with her. So it did always seem weird that she did not put she didn't have the same relationship for sure with Eleanor as she did with Marianne.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I guess I'm comparing her to the mom in Pride and Prejudice. I think they have a lot of the same characteristics.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So,
Any,
what are your final thoughts? Because I've talked this entire time.
my final thoughts are that I still love this book. I did look earlier at my review back from when I read it in when we, well, I guess I read it in 2020, and I wouldn't have said this today, but it said, and I don't have it. Oh, it's on my phone. That's why. um, but the review said that I loved this book, but I liked Pride and Prejudice better, which I don't remember writing that, so it must have been an imposter. But because I feel like Sense and Sensibility is my favorite um, of her stories.
Yeah.
So there's that. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm excited to watch the movie again
Yes.
and quote it
Yeah.
from beginning to end.
Oh my goodness.
Mrs. Bunting!
I know.
Jackie, do you remember that part? Mrs. Bunting! We'll see if
What?
she remembers.
Okay. I am excited to watch the movie. And like I said, I think it might help. It's not that I don't like the story. So let me make that clear. I still think that Emma is my favorite, and I would put this probably on the same level as Pride and Prejudice for me. So like if Emma's on the top, then they would be kind of underneath that. We need to read Persuasion.
I know. I think that's the
So
last one in my gigantic book.
in
I
your set,
think maybe. There might be one more in
yeah.
there. I
Well,
can't remember.
maybe we could do that over the summer or something. But I'm very curious to see, and I think that was the other thing that we kind of talked about is she Jane Austen always feels very predictable. That's why I was just sure
Yeah,
that Colonel Brandon and Eleanor were going to be together. So this one is very different, and I was shocked that it veered, or I guess maybe she hadn't found her path just quite yet
yeah,
because she didn't
yeah,
veer away from anything. She hadn't written in anything, but um, she definitely got better with her writing. So way to go, Jane. But this one is still good. I understand why people like it.
yeah.
So
Okay.
okay,
Jackie
and if you missed,
remembers my reference,
oh,
so there's that.
well,
You can listen for it.
I'll
It'll be
have to figure it
a little Easter egg for you.
So, you'll have to, I don't have my Gentleman in Moscow book,
Oh
but that's the next
yeah,
book that we're going to read for our, well, we're just doing a podcast. It's not going to be live book clubs because honestly, this is kind of quite a project for us to do. So we can't do it every month. But you should put in the comments what book you would like for us to do next because we've done Dickens, we've done Jane Austen. What else could we possibly do for a live book club? Maybe we could try to do that. Let's see, it's March. Maybe we could try to do that in like May or June.
yeah. I
So
like
what
the
would be a
every other
good,
month rhythm.
yes, what would be a good book for kind of summer, almost summer? It'll be hot in Texas weather.
Very,
I
very hot.
I don't know. So leave your suggestions in the comments and we'll try to figure out
Maybe it should be a good Southern book. A good Southern book would be
a
fun.
good I don't
Have you read
even
The Help? Ooh, that
I
one
knew
just came to my
you
mind.
were going to say I haven't read that one, but we can discuss.
I mean, that
So
one's south as it gets.
I didn't
So,
know if we were trying to stick with a classic.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or maybe we spice things up. Who knows? Okay. So But thanks for everybody for tuning in every week and keeping up with the story. Again, I think my final verdict is 4 stars. How
Mine
many
mine said
stars?
4 stars too, so I'm just gonna stick with it.
You're gonna stick with it
I
even if it's your
think I don't
favorite?
know. Did I go back? I might go back and put 5. It is my favorite, but of the Jane Austen. But you didn't finish, so we're gonna do Gentlemen in
Oh,
Moscow.
sorry, I got
We're gonna do like
sidetracked
a cold run, kind of how we did the women. So we're gonna do a
Yes,
podcast where we both finish it and we don't talk about it
until
until
we get
we're
on.
on the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, until we're on the podcast. So that'll be a fun one. Those are always so fun.
Are they?
They're so fun. I
They're
love
so
them.
much fun. I get very passionate. It's so funny because this is the only thing that I will get passionate about and argue with people about are books. Everything else I will be like Edward and let everyone run over me and make my decisions for me. But when it comes to books, I will stand my
She will,
ground.
yeah, and be like Marianne and let her emotions go everywhere,
Yes.
wherever they
So
may
maybe
land.
I am like Marianne. Maybe
Maybe
I
you
am.
are, just in this
Maybe.
one area of your life.
Or I'm Margaret, who just kind of shows up at the beginning and at the end.
Poor Margaret. Like she got no
I do
time.
feel bad for
She
Margaret. Like
got
whatever.
left at home. She missed all
Yeah.
the drama. Ugh.
And now what is she doing? Is she in the movie more?
Yeah, she's cute in the movie. She's cute.
Well, then we kind of get the PSS that she ends up
Oh,
getting
Jackie,
married.
what's the thing that she says? Um, Marianne's preserver. She'll remember.
Okay, another Easter egg for me then.
There's another
I
one.
will post in stories when I actually watch the movie and give my
I think you should do like, you know how our friend who like shares the news and she does like the
yes,
live thing.
the
I
tweeting
think
as I'm
you the
going.
commentary, you should do that for that movie.
And then I'll save it in a reel. That's a good idea.
Found the
So
first Easter egg.
I
And then yeah.
will, yes.
Oh, here comes
Okay.
spineless Edward. Okay, sorry. All of
I
the
will I will do that. That will be fun. So yeah. Okay. Well,
okay.
thanks everybody for hanging out.
Thanks, Wyatt, for hopping on
Getting on
for
at the end.
a split second.
Anyways, okay.
Okay. Are we
Bye.
are we signing off?
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.